Coaching in Session.
Your exclusive destination for unparalleled personal and professional growth.
With your host, Michael Rearden.
Whether you choose to live within limits or break free, your mindset journey begins here.
I often get asked this question quite a bit when someone is trying to figure out their career or if they're trying to figure out their path in life. They are stuck between this idea of passion and profit. I'm sure you might have heard some of me and the guests talk about this concept about passion and profit. And you're always going to get a different answer when it comes to what is passion, what is profit, and which one you should be going for as your primary goal. Now, logic is going to say that we should focus on the profit to make as much money as possible. And I want you to make as much money as possible. Whatever you're doing, I want you to maximize how much money you can make. Now, we know what happiness is. There's a cap in how much money you can make and then how much happiness you're going to get with that money. It's around, again, $75,000 to $80,000. Now, this is old studies in the sense of what a person is trying to live today. Now, when we start to mix in social media, when we start to mix in comparing ourselves with other people, all of the glamorous things that the world has for us, all of the new iPhones, and we say, whoa, look at all of this wonderful stuff, right? That 75,000, right, is getting away from not only the necessities now we have to have, but the luxuries that we would like to have too. And so we're linking happiness to materialistic goods. Now, this is not to say that you can't have materialistic goods or that you have to go live like a monk. People who are making $50,000 can be more happy than someone who's making $250,000. The new number I have, though, that I have found where people are finding the most happiness when whether they're married or independent is around $115,000. $115,000 is quite a bit of money, and most people are only making $45,000 to $50,000, or around $45,000 to $60,000, around there. So this is the majority of people. If we had to average it out, people are making in between that. We are far off from $115,000, right? What do? Well, we can get two jobs, right? If we get two jobs, that's $60,000. We have $120,000. I guess I'm going to be happy. But are you going to be happy working 16 hours a day, 5 times a week? I don't know. Some people do it because they need to do it because they might have a lot of debt. Maybe they have goals and aspirations, and so they need the money. Sure. I'm not saying that you can't work 16 hours. I love working more than 8 hours a day. That's just what I do. If I work 4 hours a day, I kind of feel wrong. I go, wait, what? I only live 4 hours a day? Like, this is not fun for me, right? I rather work. Now, rather not do like 9 to 5 work and work for corporations. That can be soul drenching. I've done it. Jesus, your soul gets sucked away from you. And you have to ask yourself, do you want to do this long term? Some people, they have to do it long term because they are trying to make profit. They're trying to pay their student loans. They're trying to make ends meet for their family, whatever it be. So they're worried about profit. They're saying, I need to make as much money as possible so I can sustain the life that I am living or that my family wants to live or that the world is telling me to live. So profit is going to be paramount in most people's mindsets. Passion is going to be one of those things where we think if you have passion, you must be a hippie. You must be someone who is crazy to do something that they love versus something that will make them more money. Well, there's a pro and con, I believe, to both, where we can look at passion, where you can be doing something and suffering because you're not making enough to live the lifestyle that you would like. Of course, you can lower your lifestyle as much as you want, but passion should be a freeing feeling. You should feel like you are free when you're living and working with your passion. You shouldn't feel constrained. If you are feeling constrained and you're worried about the budget, you're worried about making ends meet and payroll, that right there turns passion into dread. So you are dreading, though you might have loved it at some point, now you're suffering. So is passion suffering? Do you have to suffer in order to be passionate? Sometimes it's true. But in our world today, we can forego the suffering if we choose to do so. But then again, people are gluttons for negativity. They're gluttons for suffering. They would rather suffer and have this virtue signal of being passionate than being a money-hungry grubber. How many people you see on the street saying, oh, the rich have to pay more in taxes because it's unfair, because they make more than us, so they have to pay their fair share, and they pay taxes. But they feel as if I'm making $50,000 and they're making $1 billion, they should pay more in taxes than I do. Okay? I understand that logic, but we are getting into now a disparity or discrepancy of why are you not making $1 million? Why are you choosing to only make $50,000? And this is where many people get mad, where they're like, that's just what the job market is. That's just, the career that I went in. And then I go, okay, the career that you went in, right? The choices that you made. We all can make a choice. Elon Musk made a choice. Jeff Bezos made a choice. Bill Gates made a choice. Why are you not making better choices? You know why? Because you don't have the mindset to make better choices. You haven't been around those types of minds in order to know how you should be thinking. Have you ever wondered why rich people and their kids stay rich? Why are their kids rich? Why are their kids thinking differently? It's because of the mindset that they are around, their environment. If you are in the ghetto and you're growing up and your parents are speaking slang and not talking correct English and wearing pajama pants going to Walmart, imagine how much you have to claw out of that mindset if you want to get into the $1 billion mindsets, into the $1 billion figures, into the profits that you want to see in your life. And stop wishing and holding your hand out for handouts. We're not looking for reparations. We're not looking for more government assistance. We're looking for someone to show up. And if you look in the mirror, you're going to find the person that needs to show up. But if you're not focused on profit and you just focus on passion, why should you show up? Why should you even bother? If you're doing something you love, it doesn't matter if you're making any money, right? But as I said, we need a certain amount of money in order for us to feed ourselves, to clothe ourselves, to shelter ourselves, our basic needs we need to have met. Of course, we know people who can travel across America. You can see them on TikToks and everything, and they go into people's houses and they stay in tents. And we know monks that live in the mountains and they go into the towns and they ask people for food and they get food and they get clothes. So they don't need much money. We have people like Mother Teresa who would give away every cent that she ever has had. But then again, are you that person? Are you that Mother Teresa? Are you someone who wants to see their bank account with a big number? You know the answer. Would you rather have negative in your bank or would you rather have positive? Most people will say, I'd rather have positive. And I understand that. I like positive in my bank account too. I want positive. So at some point in our life, we have to transition, right? Because the people who are hungry for profit, you know what happens to them? They make hundreds and then millions of dollars, if not billions. And at some point, instead of being happy to make the profit and to look at the number, they're afraid of the number. They're afraid that number is going to fall and that they're going to lose it all. So you know what they do? They keep on trying to make more money. They keep on trying to make more profit. And of course, you want to be profitable. If you have a company and you have shareholders and stocks, you want your company to be profitable. You want to make money. You don't want to just say, okay, I reached a point in my career, in my life, and I have all of this money and it's nice. Man, if I lost it all, it's not the end of the world. But for the people who don't have any money and they finally get some money, guess what? They're going to start to think more in line of, if I lose this money, I'm going to have some big problems, because they know how difficult it is. They say it's very hard, your first million. And then The next hardest is around the 5 million mark. And then once you make that, everything else becomes easy because you know how to do it. Most people just don't know how to do it. They don't know how to make the money. They don't know how to make the profit. And so people follow trends. I'm going to drop ship. I'm going to do AI stuff. And all of these things are profitable. Don't get me wrong. You can have a profitable podcast. You can have a profitable business or art gallery or whatever, right? And all of this is going to maybe link into your passion. I know there's artists who are famous like on TikTok and on YouTube where they do this crazy stuff with their art. I mean, insane. And insane, I mean, I wouldn't buy it because what they do is they just get like paint and a brush and they just flick their hand one time and then it sells for $1 million. Where in my mind, I'm like, I wouldn't buy that, but someone else would, right? What do they see in that art, right? Is it passion? Is it something else? Do they want to support the person because the person is a big TikTok person? And that's what happens, right? Someone sees someone online. Oh, that art is so beautiful. Wow, I need a piece of that, right? So everyone's jumping on the bandwagon. They think it's going to make them happy, but it won't. Of course, art is a good investment. If you know how to look for good art pieces, it can be a valuable asset in your portfolio. Not saying that you shouldn't have an art portfolio. All I'm saying is there is certain art that is worth a damn and there's certain art that's not. And some of this art that's coming out, it is not. So these people who are following their passion, I'm not trying to throw them under the bus or anything, but hey, yeah, sure, you're doing what you love, you're making a good profit, but for how long? Like, how long is that passion going to go? Because if you can do something and not make money, can we call that passion or can we call that stupidity? So at some point, you might be having a business or having a profession and you're like, I'm super passionate about this. All of a sudden, you're like, okay, I'm making good money. And then you're not making money anymore. And all of a sudden, guess what? You're not passionate anymore. So was the passion a lie? Was the passion a facade that you gave yourself to say, hey, if I'm passionate about this, I'll do it. Because if you're passionate about eating cheeseburgers or sitting on the sofa, you're going to do it. It's easy. Passions can be easy, but then sometimes they can be difficult. They can be hard to do. For example, rock climbing. People have passions for rock climbing and climbing. Climbing is a lot of work. You got to be in good shape, right? People do it. All right. And there's other people who say, I would never do that. Now, can you make some money off rock climbing? Maybe if you do like YouTube videos and tutorials and stuff like that. And then, of course, you can make some profit. But for the people who do it, they're going out and they're enjoying themselves. I'm going to go climb this and I'm going to feel invigorated that I did it. But then again, are we only focused on profit in life and not the passions that we should have? And then some people who are so focused on profit, their idea of passion is relaxation. I'm going to go sit on my yacht. I'm going to go fly somewhere and just sit on a beach or something. And this is nice, right? You can have a passion for traveling or a passion for swimming. You can have those passions. But when it comes to I'm going to do something to get an escape of what I'm doing can be a dangerous thing. You should be able to live a life of what you're doing. There's a saying, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. When you start to think of that quote, that idea, it is also mixed in with this idea of what you do, you would do it for free. Of course, we know that we have to make a living, so we charge. We know that the things that we do have a level of value, so we value ourselves. And so we have some level of respect for what we do. Unfortunately, I can't give coaching away to individuals for free. I have done that before. I've talked about it. When I first started the business, 2018, 2 weeks free. You come in, you get 2 weeks free of coaching. Try it out. If you like it, we keep on going, right? What I noticed is that there were people who would come, there's people who would stay, right? And then there's people who would just take the 2 weeks. I don't mind. They would come in and they would take the 2 weeks. And then after the 2 weeks, something amazing happened. Or it's not amazing, but it's the reality of what happens after the 2 weeks of getting something for free. During the 2 weeks, those people were on it. They were doing everything that they had to do. They were showing up every single day. But as soon as that 2 weeks was up, they fell off the tracks quicker than a train robbery gone wrong. What happened? Those 2 weeks weren't enough? Should we make it a month free? Should we make it 2 months free? Heck, we should make it a year free. And the same thing would happen regardless. After the year, they would just fall back into their habits because they don't have anyone watching them. They don't have anyone doing the things that they didn't want to do so they could focus on the things that they had to do. You know what passion is? Passion is being able to do what you want to do or the things that you like to do. And you want to do them. You don't just say, you know what would be nice if I can go on a hike today because I'm passionate about it. You know, it'd be nice if I can go walk my dog because I like dogs or something like that. And you just lived in this, it would be nice phase versus let me go live it phase. Let me go do it every single day phase. So there's this idea of passion where it's going to be convenience. I do jet skiing sometimes when I have some time. Passion shouldn't just be when you have a free moment. Passion should basically be your way of life. You should be passionate about what you do. Teachers typically are passionate about teaching. They like teaching. Not saying that every teacher is like this. Some teachers going for a paycheck. Some teachers are looking to retire and they haven't even hit the retirement age. So we have different spans of life where some people, they're living in passion and some people are living in profit. Now, I haven't mentioned a blog yet because in this article where I'm talking about passion and profit, we not only talk about what passion is and how you can navigate passion, and the same thing with profit, what profit is and how you can navigate it, but the mindset between the two. What I want you to take away from this article is that it's something I talk about quite a bit on the podcast, is that there's a pivot that has to happen at certain points in your life. When I was a teacher, I would go in and I loved what I did and I would do a great job at what I did. But when it came to, all right, let me make a choice. Do I keep on teaching or do I pursue something else? Now, I still wanted to do what I was passionate about, which was teaching, which was education. And I didn't know if I was passionate about teaching or if I was passionate about being a teacher. Eventually, I figured out I was passionate about teaching. It didn't matter what I was teaching. Like I could teach kindergarteners how to tie shoes for a living and I would be passionate about it. I was passionate about teaching, about educating. But then I was like, well, I don't simply just want to teach people and just live a life of meagerness, right? I wanted something more for my life, right? I wanted a certain level of lifestyle. And so I did the work. I said, let me figure out what type of lifestyle I want. Exactly the lifestyle I want. What type of home I want. What type of wife do I want? What type of cars do I want? All of these things I answered. Some people, they kind of answer them, but I was like very clear on what I wanted. Basically, success became having everything and needing nothing. So I knew what type of lifestyle I wanted. I know how much it cost. And so I said, well, I just have to make how much I need to live the lifestyle that I want. And then, of course, you plan for retirement. Yes, we have some common sense. And we say, how much do we need for retirement? And we base it on if I retire at a certain age. So if I retire at the age of 65, I'm going to live for maybe 15 more years to 20 more years. And let's err on the side of caution, 20 more years. And then from that, I need to have a retirement. And then I also have to figure out inflation. And I would say inflation can be anywhere between 4 and 8%. for the duration of that. Maybe it can go up to 11 or 12%, and that's like dangerous. And I can prepare for the 12%. And so I also put in money to combat inflation. Now, this money is just not sitting in my bank account. It's doing work too. It's going into mutual funds. It's going into investments, stocks. It's going into bonds. It's going to go into places where it's going to compound and work for me. I'm making profit when I sleep. But most people, they just get this idea that profit is only about I'm going to work and I'm getting my hours and I'm getting a paycheck. And if that's your level of profit, you have a big problem. You need about 7 streams of income if you want to be profitable, if you want to live a life that you can dream of living. You need about 7. It could be real estate. It could be YouTube. It could be you have a little candle thing, like you're building candles and pouring candles for people. You can do that, right? You can have 7 streams of income. And when you have those 7 streams of income, maybe one of them is your passion. Maybe one of them is something you really like. Maybe it's not making you any money. It doesn't matter. But the fact that you have everything covered with profit, you can focus on being free and being able to enjoy life. Just imagine how many people don't enjoy life because they're worried about the bills, because they're worried about debt, because they're worried about the struggle, because they're worried about making ends meet. Too many people. So those people, should they just focus on profit and not passion? Well, during that time, I would say, let's figure out what you want to do, right? Because you might have made some choices and it might have led to some of the situations that you're currently in. And what you have to do at this point is pivot. You have to pivot your mindset because the way you're thinking right now is not good enough, for lack of better words. It's just not good enough. So you have to pivot your mindset. And the best way to pivot your mindset is to get a mentor. Now, the mentor doesn't have to be me. It could be me if you want it to be. But you can just go to a local business and say, hey, I'm interested in starting a business like this. Can I do an internship here at your establishment? And you go once a week, right? And so you talk to your current job or whatever. You have a job. If you don't have a job, you're high school, whatever is even better. And you just say, hey, I want to come on your busiest day. What day is that? That's Tuesday. So you coordinate with whoever you have to coordinate at your job. You say, at Tuesdays, I need Tuesdays off, but I can work Saturday and Sunday, right? That right there is enticing because Saturday and Sunday are busy days for typically businesses. Now, if you work in corporate, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, Saturday and Sunday is not going to be busy. So you need to figure out if you can do extra hours certain days, or if you could just work 4 days and get paid for the 32 hours that you do, and or if you can make up the time, or if you can promise to do all the work in the allotted 32 hours versus the 40. So you can work with your boss, especially if you're salary. The issue is, are you going to be consistent in the work? Now, once you figure out the passion and you go to the place and you're doing an internship or you're doing work for another person, the mentor, and you're gaining all of this knowledge and they're telling you what to do and you're doing it, at some point you're going to pivot. You're going to say, okay, I got enough information. Let me begin something. You might keep what you got and then start to build on that. And eventually you can quit a job that is just a money tool or a paycheck. It's not bringing you any level of fulfillment. It might bring you some level of security because some people work jobs for the pension, or they work jobs for the retirement or the 401k. Sure, these things can be enticing and they can be good, but if you focus on the profit, you're going to miss out on life quite a bit. We need to know how much profit or how much money we need to make a year in order for us to sustain ourselves. And again, I would just say aim for 115,000 and make sure you have a very simplistic life. You don't need the Bugattis, you don't need the mansions. But then again, maybe you want the clout, maybe you want the lifestyle. And so you have to adjust your profit accordingly to that. If you are seeking that type of lifestyle, the first thing you have to do is get rid of all your friends that are broke and start to hang around people who are making money. Your environment is going to be quintessential of if you're going to make some profit or if you're going to get a lot of losses. Not saying that you can't be profitable and have a lot of broke friends. It's just easier when you have people with the mindset of wealth. Passion, you can find that essentially anywhere. But some people who are focused on materialistic goods, or they're focused on, the extravagant things, might not see passion the same way. So if you are a person who's just super passionate about something, it could be about faith. It could be about dogs. It could be about cooking. And so you do those things. And if you are a person who wants to try to mix the things, of course, you figure out the profit, the businesses, and in your free time, you schedule free time, if you're the boss especially, and you say, I'm going to have some free time and I'm going to do the things that I'm passionate about. Going to the gym, going on walks, cooking, cleaning, whatever it be, you can be passionate about those things. There's no shame in being passionate about things that might be mundane to certain people. Picking up trash or helping the homeless might be mundane, or some task that people would think as lower or that they wouldn't suffice to. Just because someone else wouldn't do it, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it. What you love is what you should do, not what someone else's love, what you need to do. It's not their happiness, it's yours. So do what is going to make you happy, in the sense of you are following your path of life. You're living to the fullest. That journey, the destiny that you can be living, is going to be based on this idea of passion versus profit. You can live a life of both, but you have to learn how to navigate between the different two. You have to be able to pivot when you have to pivot. There could be a balance, or there could be this idea of harmony between the two. If you're spending too much on your passion is not bringing you anything, and you still have money left over, it doesn't matter. But if you have a passion that's consuming all your profit and you don't have enough to live, that could be a problem, right? So we're putting all of these factors together. It might not be perfect in the beginning. It doesn't have to be. But when you are figuring out the different things, right? The things you're passionate about, the things that you would like to make profit on, or things that are going to be profitable that you might enjoy doing, light switch is going to come on your mind. Like, oh, this is good. This is what I want to do. This is how to do it. And so we align ourselves with this hustle. We align ourselves with this mindset. In this article, again, we talk about passion. We talk about profit. We talk about if you follow your passion versus your profit, and vice versa. I am talking to you about the sacrifices sometimes you have to make in both areas, because there's going to be different seasons of your life where one season you're making a lot of money and one season you're not. And it's not to say that you are doing the wrong thing, or that you're not profitable. It's just that you have to understand that there's different seasons for things. I know that there's inventors who create things. Maybe they're just in this season of invention, and then all of a sudden they make an invention that they can sell for millions of dollars. And now they're sitting on beaches. So now their season of invention of making profit, they made the profit, they made the money. Now that money is working for them. They have it in accounts and it's growing. That money is just naturally growing for them, right? They're making profit, but they don't have to work for it, right? They already did what they had to do. They have the profit. So now they're living a life of passion. But sometimes you have to work in order to get to that life of passion. I'm going to live a life of passion and hope I make a profit. So again, there's different mindsets. There's a path that is a lot more difficult. Yes, you can get there. It's possible. I've seen it happen. But then there's going to be other alternatives where you can make the money, and then you could also eventually get to the passions later on. I'm going to leave you with this. When I was 18, 19, I was working in accounting, and I was working at Sikorsky, and I was making good money for my age, more than what people make per hour, even today. And I was like, whoa, making all this money. I'm seeing my bank account have all these thousands of dollars. And I'm like, oh, this is nice, right? But then what was starting to happen, I was like, I'm making all this money and I'm just working all of these hours. And I was like, something is missing. Something is not right. So I had all this money and I was like, okay, well, I guess I can spend some of it, right? So I was like, I got my girlfriend a bracelet or something, or necklace. And I was like, okay, well, let me buy some clothes. Let me buy some, like, I need some new clothes. And I was like, I don't need new clothes. But I bought new clothes and I was like, okay, this is nice, spending a couple $100 here and there. And I was like, all right, I still got a lot of money. And I was like, I'm not like, I don't have a passion for spending money or spending or like buying clothes and stuff. And I was like, okay, well, what's the point of the profit? Of course, you need profit to grow businesses and to fund yourself and to market. You need to pay your employees, right? You need the profit. But at the time, my mind was confused between the two, the passion and the profit. So when I said, you know what, I'm going to go into teaching, and the teaching had a mediocre profit, but the passion was high. And I was like, oh, this feels good. And when I was doing it, I felt more alive than ever, more alive than having thousands of dollars at the time when I was 18, 19 in the bank. And I was like, this is interesting, because now I had a choice to make, passion or profit. And so I chose, again, as I said early on, I chose passion for a bit. And I realized that the passion doesn't have to come first. It doesn't need to be there in order for you to be happy. You can make a profit and still do things that you're passionate about. All of this is just a loop. You have to be able to pivot, is what I'm saying in short. Be able to pivot between the two. And if you can find that balance, you can find that harmony, you're going to be A-okay. And you're going to find your life so much more fulfilling. Because one of the biggest complaints I have from the people who make a lot of money is that they have no fulfillment. And so we know that fulfillment is an aspect to having too much profit where they don't feel fulfilled and they don't feel full. We have the people who are passionate, but they are struggling. So it's like a battle between the two. So there is a middle ground that you have to figure out what is for you. It could be passion today. It could be profit tomorrow. As long as you figure out what season you're in, you can accomplish anything that you want in your life. It could take some time to build, to structure, but as long as you're consistent and you remain steadfast, the passions are going to come and the profit is going to be there.